This is the third video that I'm doing in a series of videos on things that have helped me in my recovery from Cipro poisoning. Cipro is a fluoroquinolone antibiotic. It is a very dangerous class of antibiotic that has been infused with a known toxin, which is fluoride. And basically these antibiotics cause systemic fluoride poisoning, which is absolutely devastating. These antibiotics attack the central nervous system, they attack the digestive system, the connective tissue and tendons, so they literally break your body down at the seams. They cause vision damage, migraines, neurological damage, muscle wasting, muscle weakness, I could go on and on and on, tinnitus, morbid thoughts, suicidal thoughts, basically just a whole laundry list of terrible, terrible side effects. And these side effects are often long-term, okay? So there's an understanding in the general public that if you have an adverse reaction to a drug, you just stop taking that drug and the effects go away. You know, it may take a few days or a week, but the effects will dissipate as soon as you stop taking that drug. Well, that is not actually the case. I'm not sure how many new wave pharmaceuticals have long-term adverse reactions. I know multiple ones that do, but I can attest to the fact that Cipro has long-term debilitating side effects. I was poisoned by Cipro in early December 2009, so 6 years ago, just over 6 years ago, and it has been a long and often brutal recovery process since then. But I will say that I am recovering. I have recovered quite a lot. I have to be very careful not to trigger reactions. What I found, and you'll see in my previous videos, what I found is that monitoring my diet and keeping my diet absolutely pristine, eliminating all trigger foods, all trigger substances, has been a key element to my recovery. And unfortunately, something I just did was I tried to reintroduce coffee a little bit of coffee, because what coffee does is coffee actually helps some of my other Cipro symptoms, which is headaches and fatigue. Okay, those are two things that I still have, and coffee clears those up like, you know, like nothing, right? So I was hoping that I could integrate a little bit of coffee here and there, almost medicinally, for use with these headaches and the fatigue. But unfortunately, caffeine is a known trigger for people who are having fluoroquinolone reactions. And what has happened is it's triggered a reaction in my tendons that has somewhat set me back, somewhat relapsed me. And this has kind of brought up for me just the emotional and psychological difficulty of being poisoned by one of these substances and the recovery process that you go through. There's ups and downs, you know, there are moments where you feel like you're really making progress, you're really recovering, and then something may happen. You may eat something or drink something, or you get run down, you get tired, whatever, and the symptoms start to flare up again, which can be very demoralizing, okay? Very demoralizing. So what I'd like to cover in this video is what has helped me to recover on the emotional and psychological fronts. So fluoroquinolone antibiotics like Cipro, there are three major name brands: Levaquin, Cipro, and Avelox, but there are a number of other brand names of fluoroquinolones. There are also generic brands being produced. These are probably the most widely prescribed antibiotics in the world at the moment, which is absolutely terrifying. There have been thousands of deaths, probably more in the tens of thousands, to be quite honest, associated with fluoroquinolone antibiotics, and hundreds of thousands of debilitating long-term reactions, where people have been, you know, quite literally disabled, taken out of the game to a certain extent by these drugs. One of the most terrible aspects of fluoroquinolone antibiotic poisoning is the emotional and psychological effects. So there is a chemical psychosis, a toxic psychosis that happens for a number of people when they have ingested these drugs and have started on the adverse reaction. And I will just describe mine a little bit. So in addition to the physical effects, the tendons breaking down, the food sensitivities, not being able to eat, feeling poisoned, feeling extremely weak, feeling extremely fatigued, extreme migraines, vision damage, all of the, you know, the whole laundry list I've experienced. There is an overwhelming sense of horror and dread that settles down upon you. And part of it, yes, is the fact that you're experiencing something absolutely terrifying, but it's something more than that. It's almost as if you lose control of your emotions and you lose control of your psychological state. And you are taken into the most dark, depressing, horrific, terrifying places you can imagine, and you're kept there. Okay, so when this first happened, I started having a panic attack because my whole body felt like it was ringing, like it was just, it had been poisoned, and it was just, there was a sort of like a fight or flight, panicky kind of reaction that happened. And another aspect of that was morbid thoughts, okay? And morbid thoughts are a side effect of many pharmaceuticals, especially new wave pharmaceuticals. Also suicidal thoughts. Suicidal thoughts are also common side effects of new wave pharmaceuticals, particularly antidepressants, which is, you know, terrible and should be well noted by anyone who's either going on or coming off antidepressants, because suicidal thoughts leading to suicidal actions are associated with that. Champix, the stop smoking drug, is another one I know that has many suicidal tendencies associated, and I actually know someone in the community who has been affected by a loved one taking his life after being on the stop smoking drug. So this is just an aside, because fluoroquinolone antibiotics are far from the only dangerous drugs being handed out like chiclets by unfortunately ignorant doctors and pharmacists. Okay, so back to the emotional and psychological effects. The morbid thoughts, the suicidal thoughts, the constant state of terror, the depression, it's all chemically triggered, so it's all sort of beyond your control. And there are certain things you can control as far as those effects, but it just sort of sits on you, is what I felt. And at the beginning, it's very irrational morbid thoughts. So it's basically your worst nightmares, you're convinced are coming true. Because you're in this nightmare of a situation, you don't know what's going on with your body, you just feel like absolute hell. It's terrifying. You don't know when it's going to stop. You don't know if it's going to stop. You don't know if things are going to improve. You don't know if you're dying. When I first got poisoned by Cipro, I was convinced that I was going to die. And part of that definitely is the chemical psychosis, is a toxic psychosis related to this. And an extreme terror that I was going to die. And in my right mind, I'm actually not terrified of death, because I understand that death comes to us all at some point, right? So it was a literal chemical reaction creating this absolute terror that I was going to die from this reaction. All my family members were going to die. I was going to end up, you know, unable to work, homeless, you know, disabled, all of the thoughts that were, you know, running through my mind. And again, the suicidal thoughts, so the thoughts that the only way out of this is to kill myself. The only way you know, I'm wrecked, I'm ruined, I'm damaged goods. There's no life for me on the other side of this. And no one understands. I'm isolated in this reaction. I'm living in hell. I don't know when I'm going to get out of hell. I don't know if I'm going to get out of hell. And the only solution there is to kill myself, right? And so this thought repeatedly was going through my mind, and I really could not control it. Okay, so it was incredibly intense for the first, probably the first month, and then subsequent months of the reaction. But these thoughts and this chemical depression and these morbid thoughts continued with me for years, okay, off and on. And so they weren't as intense and out of control as when the reaction first started, but they were definitely badly affecting my quality of life. Okay, so I just want to let anyone know who's finding this video, who's having one of these horrific reactions, that I do know what you're going through. You're not alone. There are, as I said, there are hundreds of thousands of people who have been through a fluoroquinolone reaction. And some of the people, it breaks my heart, you know, have actually lost their lives due to the irresponsible prescription and dispensing of this drug. And really, you know, we're here to stop that from ever happening to anyone again. We're here to stop that from this reaction happening to anyone ever again, okay? But just know that I know what you're going through. I know the darkest, most depressing, most horrific places that the human mind can go. I've been there too, and I've come out of it, and I know that you can too, okay? My belief with these reactions is that over the course of time and with enough diligence with diet, rest, you know, supplements, taking care of your spiritual health, taking care of your physical health, just really radical self-care is what it takes to, you know, and really not almost shutting out the outside world and just focusing on what you need to do to make yourself feel better, to get through this and to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I do believe that I think 99.5% of people will see improvements, okay? And so part of the trick with this recovery process, and it is a cyclical recovery process, so it can be demoralizing because, again, as I say, you go through these cycles where you feel pretty okay for maybe a couple days, and then you feel terrible for a few days, and then you feel pretty okay for a week, and then you feel terrible for a week, and then you feel pretty okay for maybe 10 days, and then, you know, and it just sort of gradually the periods where you're feeling pretty good are extended, and the periods where you're feeling absolutely terrible and you're bedridden and you can't move and it's awful get shorter, okay? So I can't say with certainty when that's going to happen, because as I say, I'm 6 years out and I've recovered quite a lot, but what I've just, you know, what's just been hammered home to me, which I knew, right, was that at any time these symptoms can be triggered again with food, with substances, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not resting, if you're overexerting yourself, if you're working too hard, if you're exercising too hard, any of that kind of stuff, right, can sort of cause these things to flare up again. Okay, so one of the things that I found that really helped me, it's almost a meditative technique, which is focusing beyond the point of your discomfort. So some point beyond the discomfort that you're feeling in your physical body, okay? Because ultimately, you are not just this physical body. You are a soul. You are a spirit, okay? That's what I believe. So there is a you beyond these chemical reactions that are going on in your body, okay? And so a key point, I think, is to always remember that you are you. You are a human being. You are an individual. You matter to people. You matter to your higher power, if you believe in a higher power. you are loved. Even when you're going through a brutal, extreme situation like the one that you're going through right now, potentially going through right now, they're all different. There's all different, a whole different spectrum of these types of reactions. So accepting where you are, okay, and accepting that you may not be able to see it at this current moment, but this reaction has happened for a reason. That you are experiencing the things that you're experiencing for a reason, a higher reason, higher purpose, okay? And again, understanding that you're always you, you're always an individual, you have your own humor, you have your own opinions, you have your own thoughts, you have your own accomplishments in life. You're a valuable member of this planet, okay? So when you're thinking that the only answer is to leave this planet, I'm here to tell you that's not the case, okay? And I know when you're in pain, when you're scared out of your wits, when your finances are taking a massive hit, all of these things, you know, all of these things are very difficult to deal with. But I'm also here to talk to you about the understanding that this is an experience an experience that is necessary at the soul level, on some level, okay? So there is a tradition of shamanism on this planet, and shaman are basically considered intermediaries between the material world and the spiritual world. They're often the medicine people, I think they're mostly men because we're living in a patriarchal world, people. But basically they are people who take on certain experiences for the collective so as to gain certain knowledge, information, awareness, and also strength, soul strength, that others do not have. Okay, so these experiences are designed to make you more powerful, ultimately, to make you wiser, to make you smarter, to make you more knowledgeable, to make you more cunning, okay? In the face of these dark and toxic forces that we are, you know, that we are dealing with on planet Earth. So the shamanic experience, one of the classic shamanic experiences is an initiatory experience. So basically being initiated into a deeper understanding of things and a more powerful understanding of things so that you can be more effective dealing with what is really going on planet Earth, okay? One of these shamanic initiatory experiences is illness, sickness, okay? So the shaman, the individual who's taking on this shamanic experience has to experience illness and has to battle to heal him or herself so that they can then turn around and help to heal others who are suffering in the same way, okay? There is a particular emphasis on poisoning, okay? And I'm not a religious person. I am a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person, but there is you may remember the Samuel L. Jackson speech in Pulp Fiction about you know, I am the Lord and I am going to bring down the hurt on any of you bastards who are poisoning my righteous people, who are poisoning my righteous men and women on this planet, right? So there's a long history of the righteous people being poisoned by the non-righteous people. And poisoning in particular is a cause of this initiatory sickness, okay? So just understand the lineage of what you're a part of right now. These reactions are so amazingly isolating, right? Because no one else really knows what you're going through. Many people are not believed by their loved ones, which just puts a knife in my heart, honestly. I feel so deeply for you, for anyone who has not been believed by their loved ones. I understand not being believed by the doctors or the pharmacists. That's happened to me too. But to not be believed by your closest family members and friends, you know, you guys are going through a special initiatory experience where you're learning that your soul can stand on its own when it has to. You can stand on your own, in your own truth, whenever you need to. And it's nice to have backup. Oh, it's great to have backup. But if you don't have backup, you always have yourself, your connection to spirit, your connection to soul, your connection to the higher power, the bigger picture. Okay, the bigger picture is always there, and you're an important part of it. So keeping things at a spiritual perspective has always helped me on planet Earth. We aren't just being tortured for no reason here, even though it seems like it sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, it does seem like it sometimes. We're not being poisoned for no reason. We're not going through these just grueling emotional and psychological experiences for no reason, right? Again, they are initiatory experiences at the soul level. And we are learning what's poisoning us on planet Earth. It isn't just you who's being poisoned. It isn't just me who's being poisoned. We're connected to millions of people who have been poisoned by pharmaceuticals. We're connected to millions of people whose loved ones have died from pharmaceuticals irresponsibly prescribed without warning by doctors and pharmacists. Okay? So we're all connected at the heart level, at the soul level, at the spirit level. We're all connected, the people who have who are going through a similar thing, okay? And we also have this shamanic lineage of people who, again, have these initiatory experiences of sickness and illness and torment, right? And have to work their way out of the puzzle, work their way back to being whole. Okay, so acceptance of where you are, meditation to the point where you can focus. It's kind of a Zen moment, right? Where you're focused beyond the you're acknowledging the physical discomfort in your physical body. Sorry, physical. But you're acknowledging your traumatized mental and emotional state, right? But you're understanding that you are something beyond that. You are something experiencing this, but this experience is not you. It does not consume you. How your physical body feels does not consume you, does not change who you are. Depersonalization is one of the main side effects of fluoroquinolone poisoning. So literally just not feeling like a person, not feeling like yourself. And that is terrible and terrifying. And again, if you're going through that, just know that my heart's with you. I know how you feel. I've been through it. And I know that as long as you keep seeking the answers, the solutions, step by step by baby step, you'll move through it as well. Okay. I'm also going to talk now about a physical product, I would say, I guess, physical medicine that has helped me with the emotional and psychological effects. So again, I was being tormented by these dark, morbid thoughts, suicidal thoughts, feeling that I was damaged goods. My contributions to society were limited. Basically, things were on the downward spiral is basically what Cipro had convinced me of. Okay. And it just kept hammering this home. And every time I had a symptom flare and I was confined to bed and I was just fatigued out the ass and could barely drag myself through a friggin' day on planet Earth, Cipro was convincing me of this, right? There's no value in living like this. But I'm here to tell you that that's wrong. That Cipro is a bullshit artist. And it's convincing you of things that are not true, okay? It's trying to convince you of an ugly, and hateful viewpoint. And the ultimate truth is that you come from love, okay? You come from caring, and you are beautiful. You're a beautiful being. You have a beautiful soul. You're a beautiful person. You mean a lot to people in this world, and more than you can imagine. You mean a lot to strangers that you pass by on the street who are maybe having a shitty day, and you gave them a little smile, and that just, you know, that gave that person the strength to go on. Okay? You're meaningful to people in ways that you do not know. So just, even if you don't fully believe that, I'll believe it for you because I know it's true. Okay? The thing that has helped me, and I'm hemming and hawing a little bit here because I don't like people knowing about my personal life, and I know I open myself up to the risk of being judged here as well. But what has far and away helped me the most with the emotional and psychological effects, as well as the lingering physical effects, is using marijuana as a medicine. And marijuana is a medicine. Okay, it's only because of our skewed and very fascist system that deadly, debilitating pharmaceuticals like Cipro, like Levaquin, like Avelox, like Champix, like the Gardasil vaccine, like Vioxx, like you know, a number of antidepressants that have caused suicidal thoughts. You know, a number of drugs, that these drugs are considered safe and legitimate and socially acceptable, while marijuana, because it is not controlled by this same system, because it does not make money for this same system, is considered a dangerous drug. Okay, marijuana has been used for millennia as a medicine. Okay, and what marijuana does when you use it medicinally is it somewhat blocks those toxic thought patterns that fluoroquinolones put you in. The toxic psychosis, the toxic thinking, the morbid thinking, the suicidal thinking. Marijuana just sort of blocks those out, and it kind of buffers your mental state and your emotional state. It creates good feelings. Okay, I hadn't felt good in 3 years, right? 3 years since the reaction began, and that's what reminded me what it was like to feel good, was to actually share marijuana with some wonderful friends. Okay, so I'm not necessarily advocating smoking marijuana when you are in the worst grips of the initial reaction, because I don't know how it would affect things then. Okay, I'm also not necessarily suggesting that you smoke alone, right? Sometimes that is helpful as well, but really being around people, that's one of the most beautiful things about the medicine of marijuana, is that it is best when it's shared with people you care about, people you love, people you admire, people you respect. It's about bringing you back into the fold, into the loving fold, right? And marijuana reminds you that you're never actually separate from the loving fold, even when it feels like it, even when you would be certain that you are just off on your own in some horrific nether world, right? But that's basically what has helped me the most with those particular effects. The caution there is that sometimes when smoking marijuana, you like to eat. Okay, it makes food and drink taste good as well. But when you're on the healing path from the fluoroquinolones, you have to keep your diet and what you ingest, period, including drinks, so pristine. Okay, so you have to kind of balance it and make sure that you've got that side of things. You know what diet is a healing diet for you, and you know what diet is a harmful diet for you, right? And you don't deviate. It's hard, okay? Because as I say, I've just reactivated symptoms. You know, my knees feel terrible right now, really terrible right now. My tendons feel terrible right now because I unknowingly had a really bad reaction to coffee, and I haven't had a reaction that bad to coffee. So it reminds me that these reactions can flare up again almost out of the blue, right? You can be ingesting something that you've taken out of your diet, and then all of a sudden it just wallops you, right? So caffeine is a known trigger, even though, as I say, caffeine alleviates some of the other symptoms, for me in particular, the fatigue and the headaches, but it exacerbates other problems. And, you know, this is just a chance for me to recommit to zero caffeine. So just toughen through those fatigue days, toughen through those headaches, and you know, getting through it. Anyway, this is just a few things a few techniques that have helped me. It's the way that I look at these experiences of being poisoned and being sickened. When people are being poisoned and sickened en masse like this, how our personal recovery, our personal struggle, and our personal battle to raise awareness about these dangerous drugs and hopefully get these dangerous drugs off the market, or at the very least dispensed only in life and death situations when an infection is going to actually kill the person, and all other safer alternatives have been tried and have failed. Those are the situations where fluoroquinolones should be prescribed. But that doesn't make the big pharma corporations all their money, does it? No. It only makes the big pharma corporations all their money when they're being prescribed like chiclets, when they're being handed out willy-nilly to anyone for any minor infection, when the potential side effects are so risky. You would never in your right mind, if you were fully informed of what could happen, you would never in your right mind take a fluoroquinolone as a first-line antibiotic. Anyway, I hope this video, I know this video is a little rambly, I'm sorry. It's a big topic that we're enmeshed in here. I just wanted to share a few tips, and also just support that I know what you're going through. You're not alone. Don't ever feel that suicide is the only option, because it isn't. Okay, there's always the hope, there's always the curiosity. I'm not even going to say hope, I'm going to say there's always the curiosity about what's going to happen the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Okay, so all you have to do is get through the day that you're living in, right? And see what happens the next day, or the day after that, or the day after that. All you have to do is stay in your current moment, take care of yourself in your current moment, love yourself in your current moment, surround yourself by people who love you and care about you. You know, access the support groups out there if that helps you, right? There are support groups on Facebook, there are support groups, there are probably physical support groups popping up. Alternative therapies can help, so I would look into those. Vitamins, minerals, herbal supports. You have to be careful with that stuff, right? Because some of it can cause reactions you don't want. Any type of energy medicine. You know, salt lamp. I'll show you. Even just having, oh, sorry, it's going off and on. Even just having one of these bad boys around. Having some nice crystals or rocks that feel nice to you. Having plants around you, having animals around you. You know, just reminding you that your life does have pleasure to it, even when you can't feel it, right? Even when you've just been in this black hole for so long. And like I said, I was there right with you. I was there right with you, okay? And I still get dragged back into it from time to time, right? But I do have confidence that over time we're going to get out of this together. I have confidence that we are going to hold the people responsible who have poisoned us. I have confidence that my higher power, as long as I hold up my end of the bargain, my higher power is going to take care of the people who are responsible for putting me and so many other people through hell, through pain, through torment, through suffering, through torture. Because that's what it is. That's what it is. You know, but again, your spiritual strength, your soul strength can carry you through it. Okay? You're not the only one who's ever experienced this. And unfortunately, you're not the only one who ever will experience this either. Every single day, there are more people being prescribed these drugs. And it's horrific. I hate to think of someone starting off where I started off, researching Cipro and just realizing that life was, you know, life was not going to be the same from that point forward. But I'm here to tell you that it's okay that life is not the same. Life is a continual state of change, okay? More so for some people than others. But it's a soul experience, it's a shamanic experience, it's an initiatory experience. And it is going to take you into wiser and stronger places, more knowledgeable places. And it's going to take you to a place where you can actually fight for freedom from this stuff and from these people who are hurting us. Okay? So I would look at your physical improvements. Look at this as a marathon, not a sprint. Okay? So you're looking at gradual improvements over the course of time. And I bet if you did a survey of, you know, thousands of fluoroquinolone victims, they would say that the recovery process, some people have a quick recovery process, but most, I would say, recover slowly, gradually over time, okay? And certain symptoms will just drop away. And then all of a sudden you'll realize, oh, I haven't actually been experiencing that for a while. That's great, you know? Ask yourself, how is this experience, how do I put this? Because I don't want to make this sound like an experience that anyone would want to have, but what are the benefits of this experience? How has this made you smarter about things? How has this made you smarter about what you put in your body? How has this made you smarter about taking a doctor or pharmacist's word, right, before doing any research about what they're saying? Or how has this made you smarter about the way, you know, the corporate pharmaceuticals game is played, and, you know, understanding that the best interests of the individual is not generally at the heart of their game, okay? It's usually their own profit is what's at the heart of their game. So this is basically an experience that will strip the Maya. It'll strip the illusions, right, that most people are living by, okay? And that can be terrifying and scary too, right? To have a certain awareness of things that other people don't have. But it also makes you so very powerful, okay? And you're going to be able to do so much good with this power that you've been instilled with. You're going to be able to help so many people, okay? In a way that is just right down to the soul level, right down to the emotions, right down to the kind of guts of this human life, these human experiences. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope this isn't too long and boring, rambling, but I just want anyone who's having this experience to know that you're not alone. I know what you're going through. I know that there will be improvement for you. I know that most likely there will be recovery over a long enough timeline. I think there will be, you know, substantial recovery for almost all of us. So all my best to you. Please keep taking care of yourself. Please keep loving yourself. And all my best.